If you combine the neon-holographic aesthetic of TRON with the fast-paced shooting and skill kills of Bulletstorm, you would have a pretty good elevator pitch for the Cyberpunk first-person shooter DESYNC. Shooting up digital baddies with shotguns, pistols, and rocket launchers in Quake-like arenas, while trying to rack up as many points as possible for creativity, sounds like frenetic fun. But how does this psychedelic indie game stack up against the slew of great old-school style shooters of the past couple years? Let's find out in this episode of Cyberpunk Curated. DESYNC wears its inspirations on its sleeves. Looking like it was exported straight out of a cyberspace scene in the Johnny Mnemonic or TRON movies, it makes clever use of an abstract-shaped art style, color coding, and layers upon layers of post-processing to impress you, without a huge budget. Such is the way you can compete in a graphics-driven market with a $15 game, but it is commendable work here, and has a visual style all of its own. There is really no other game that looks and feels quite like this. Overall, it's a great art style that gets you into the cyberpunk icebreaker groove really well. My only caveat is that the aforementioned post-processing, like glitch effects, chromatic aberration, and vertical interlacing, can be a bit of sensory overload at times, and may trigger unwanted reactions to those sensitive to them. Epileptics be warned. There are a few settings that allow you to turn some of this down, most notably the interlacing in combat, which I recommend. Overall, though, the game has a tight and thematic aesthetic that perfectly emulates virtual cyberspace action you've seen in media for years. Sound design is quite a standout here too. The default levels put sound effects at a 50% range, and music at a 100%, which I would normally find questionable, but here it works, so very well in fact. Most sound effects are high triple bleeps, blasts, or impacts, which are quieter than but peak above the thumping arpeggiator bass tracks that envelop each fight. This was a deliberate decision, and I think it works with flying colors. There's a little delay between each life, and your respawn time is short, so having the constant throb of techno beats keeps the tempo high and your attention transfixed. This is really one of those soundtracks that just pumps like a hyperactive heartbeat while you jump, shoot, and maim your way around each level. DESYNC's gameplay is very much a marriage of the run-and-gun movement-focused shooting of 2016's Doom with the skill kills of 2011's Bulletstorm. Riding on the bandwagon of the return of the old-school shooter, DESYNC should feel right at home for people yearning for that simple, fast, and frenetic feel of these type of games. It has a very similar system to Doom, where it incentivizes creative and unusual kills by dropping large quantities of health and ammo pickups, in this case, from Bulletstorm-like skill kills. A simple but brilliant combination of tried and true ideas. What are skill kills, you ask? Well, you probably didn't, but I'll tell you anyway. Skill kills are a loose term for unique and creative ways to give your virtual opponents a permanent end of line, be it knocking enemies into a spike trap for a fantastic crunch, shooting an explosive at just the right time to decimate multiple foes, doing a quick dodge out of an attack reach and hitting them in the back, or rushing them with a shotgun. There are numerous specialized ways you can kill in this game, and as a slow-mo identification screen the first time you perform a new one, which describes not only what you did, but also how you did it. This is a smooth and gradual way to teach new tricks and methods to the player. Your arsenal is small at first, but eventually you gain more and more weapons, each with unique uses to get the most creative kills you can. Shotguns knock back smaller enemies, rockets can one-shot some enemies with a direct hit, alternate fire modes on weapons can provide a tactical advantage or a skill kill as well. There's just something so satisfying when you build up a fast rhythm, your attack meter is full, and you lay waste to hordes of enemies with finesse. It can feel amazing. There's a lot of progression in this game to keep you occupied. New guns to unlock, gun mods for damage, fire rate, and clip size, as well as sidearms and cores to unlock as you play. Sidearms can be equipped between levels and charged up through combat, and allow for defensive maneuvers such as blocking projectiles or freezing enemies. Cores are special one-off abilities such as healing, area effect blast, and attack speed buffs, among others. This is all good stuff, but it is very obtusely displayed and rarely explained in the game, so you have to test and try things out based on the very brief descriptors in the menus. This is quite apparent in the sync-desync system. Some enemies are synced, meaning they have a special buff and are harder to kill. There are 4 types of syncs and are identified by the color of their shields. Before each level, you can set up attack sequences where you are able to assign specific skill kill moves to each category of sync, which, if performed as you have laid out, will deal considerably more damage. Having trouble with those red sync shield wielders? Add an avoidance to that attack sequence, then proceed to dodge their swings and attack afterward, activating the attack sequence bonus. While gameplay may feel familiar to those who have played Bulletstorm or other like first-person shooters, there are 2 notable differences in this game. For one, each level is comprised of a string of enclosed arenas, which are locked down when you enter them, forcing you to fight in smaller spaces than would be available in a common FPS campaign. And like many games, you have boss battles, only here they are separated into their own boss levels. But in a similar fashion to Bulletstorm, DESYNC fails to tie its core gameplay mechanics, the skill kill reward system, into boss battle design, and so it devolves into evade, damage, and shoot gameplay, which is disappointing despite their fleshed out animations, attacks, and multiple forms the game's bosses take. The difference though is that in DESYNC, the bosses are really hard. I'm talking Dark Souls hard here. The first boss, for example, has 2 forms, a tremendous reach, fast animations, multiple ranged attacks, an arena-sized ground pound attack, and 2 full bars of health. And there are no skill kills, knockback, or arena hazards I could use on him. It was just dodge, 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 shoot, jump, dodge, dodge, dodge. You get the idea. These are very challenging and may test the patience of less hardcore players as it did mine. But if replaying a boss 50-odd times without an easy mode to fall back on sounds like a fine time to you, then I wouldn't worry about it. The game features a wide array of enemy types, and they often require quick thinking and tactics to take down. But that's not to say that there aren't a few that feel cheap or just plain annoying. There are mobs that teleport next to you for a cheap melee attack, and later on you'll encounter tiny headcrab-like guys who will stick to your face and deal damage over time, which makes you have to scramble for any health pack you can. The game has a lot of levels, and your performance in them is all highly staticized and graded. C, B, A, and the illustrious S rank, depending on how fast, creative, and clean your run was. There is also unlockable aberration zones, which are previous levels played in reverse order, with tougher enemies and a new mutator applied in each stage. This can be anything from replacing your guns, taking away dodge dashes, speeding up the game, or giving you dual weapons. Each mutator stacks on the last, so eventually you get to a stage where things are absolutely topsy-turvy, and it's both challenging and insane. There is a lot of replayability here for completionist types. If the crazy creative kills of this Twitch shooter with a thumping electronic soundtrack seems interesting to you, and you don't curl up into a ball from the sensory overload of its gloriously neon graphics, then DESYNC might have a lot to offer you. It's a statistician gamer's wet dream, and there are a lot of weapons and items to unlock and max out to keep you busy too. But if the prospect of jarring boss battle difficulty spikes rubs you the wrong way, or if managing active abilities, 4 weapons equipped at a time, each with 2 firing modes at a lightning pace, sounds stressful rather than satisfying, then you may want to show some caution before running out and buying this indie shooter. I've had a lot of fun with this game, and would recommend it to those who love the crazy twitchiness and high-energy, fast-moving shooters of old in a new and shiny coat of paint. In my arbitrary rating scale, I give DESYNC 4 polygons out of 5. I want to thank my Patreon supporters for helping make this possible. Please consider subscribing if you'd like to get my latest content as soon as it's posted. And thank you for watching.